this week, Jeff Sessions announced that the DOJ was going to roll back the directive that the Obama administration had put out to its U.S. attorneys, which is if you are living in a state where marijuana has been legalized or decriminalized, you are directed to not use your limited resources on pursuing people under federal law. And Sessions on, I guess yesterday, I'm looking at the letter right now, basically said, in deciding which marijuana activities to prosecute under these laws with the department's finite resources, prosecutors should follow the well-established principles that govern all federal prosecutions. And they goes on to cite those things. But it basically says, like, the gloves are off. If you want to go after these people, go ahead. Now, that doesn't mean that it's just really up to their discretion, the U.S. attorneys. We saw during the Bush years that Karl Rove was firing U.S. attorneys who weren't going out and trying to find fake voter fraud cases. And when they didn't...
And they may pretend they're going to leave it to the attorneys. And remember that one of those attorneys who went out and did what they told him to do was a guy named Chris Christie. So there's an upside.
Yep.
If you're one of these attorneys, if you're a sleazy hack, which there aren't any of those in the Republican Party, of course, who is just looking for, and you don't care about the what you do and how you get there. You just care that you get there. There being governor, senator, president, whatever. There's that motivation. I mean, that's one. There's so many different. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm agreeing. I mean, there's a lot of motivation for people to pursue this because it paid off for a lot of people during the Bush administration. Here is Senator Cory Gardner from Colorado. I think they were the first state to have Washington. I can't remember the timing, but I'm pretty sure Colorado was the first one to have legal recreational marijuana. And
and I'll say quickly, they've kind of, I know you're just seeing play the clip to give the entree. I mean, it's become the center really at this point. I mean, what gambling is in Vegas, and what the Hollywood is to Los Angeles at this point, the Denver area honestly has become the center of sort of legalized marijuana. And so there's a huge amount of money we're talking about here that is now being pumped into their university system and others from this. Tax revenues are through the roof, and there are businessmen who stand to lose from this, some of whom are Republicans. So there's some context to it.
Here's Cory Gardner.
And that they reverse their decision to withdraw and rescind the Cole Memorandum, and that they re-implement and reinstate the Cole Memorandum. And until that happens, I think I am obligated by the people of Colorado to take all steps necessary to protect the state of Colorado and their rights. And that's why I will be putting today a hold on every single nomination from the Department of Justice until Attorney General Jeff Sessions lives up to the commitment that he made to me in my pre-confirmation meeting with him, the conversation we had that was specifically about this issue of states' rights in Colorado. Until he lives up to that commitment, I will be holding all nominations to the Department of Justice. The people of Colorado deserve answers. The people of Colorado deserve their will to be respected. Madam President, I yield the floor.
That's pretty serious stuff.
And it was echoed, by the way, by, what's his name? The Republican congressman. Is it Kaufman from the Denver area, who's always considered one of the most vulnerable ones. I mean, this is sort of like the newer, this could be the newer version of the Republican tax bill, which is in certain states, the way they picked on New York and California, in certain key states here, what Sessions is doing is he's literally screwing certain Republicans because at this point, the machinery is forward. We all know how markets work, if you understand them. They need stability. And if people are going to invest money in various things, I'll come out and say I've had some involvement here in the medicinal cannabis market in Ohio, and so I know this particular topic pretty well. And And so I promise you, there are some Republican business people in Colorado, I'm sure, are invested in this business, who are donors to Cory Gardner, and they're going to be hurt by this. But overall, just in general, the state is so overwhelmingly happy with it, with the tax revenue coming in. Opioid abuse has fallen. I mean, it's it's hard to find any social indicator that has not gone in the right direction. So Cory Gardner's up in 2020, and they've already seen the benefits. They haven't yet seen the benefits because they just legalized in Maine, but Susan Collins would be up in 2020. Mm-hmm. That would be somebody else who would be in the crosshairs. And, of course, our friend Dean Heller, who I think is already somewhat gone, is up in 2018 in Nevada, who also just fully legalized. And this would just be another albatross around his neck, and will be, if Sessions or any of them make any movement. But then you also have to look at the number of states. There are now about 6 or 7 of them that are fully legalized, and look at Republican House members, as I brought up Kaufman in Colorado. You've got the open Reichert seat, for example, in Washington State, and you've got others. You've got Oregon. You've got California. Those very same Republicans who already screwed over the tax bill. You've got Alaska. Murkowski's lucky she's not up till 2022. Don Young has to win his 407th term, this year.
Right.
I mean, so there's just there's a lot of people here who are going to be, in trouble. And then there's a few congressional swing seats in Nevada, too. So, and Maine, the 2nd district in Maine. So, I mean, there's a lot more on that side. So there's the political side of it. And on the policy side, I have to say, this is like a white whale, and I actually, pun intended, for Jeff Sessions, because it seems to me, if you go back, and for those, interested in history, when it finally came out, I don't remember, it was one of the two, as they called them, the two Nazis, Haldeman or Ehrlichman, in the Nixon administration, finally admitted that they began the war on drugs because, as far as they saw, it was a way to criminalize their opponents. It's a way to criminalize African Americans and hippies. Yep. And I still have to believe that that's what this obsession is with Sessions. That he's such a race. I mean, the way you bring race and drugs together, it's almost perfect in that statement he once made where he's like, I thought the KKK were okay until I found out this one guy smoked pot.
Right.
He like, literally, there's nothing the guy can do that isn't about race. And I honestly think when we all look at the disaster that was the war on drugs, it is the war on drugs, even though we've reformed at least a little bit. He wants to bring that all back because throwing poor people and African Americans in prison and disrupting and destroying lives, that's the kind of thing that makes Jeff Sessions smile his little elf smile.
It's so
There's no other reason to be doing this. There's none.
It really does boggle the mind a little bit. I mean, I guess I don't really understand racists, and maybe it's just that they're...
That's your problem.
Well, no, but I mean, and maybe it's driven by his racism. Maybe he just perceives
I really do think
that
it is.
pot is
I'm
like
sure of it.
All the jazz singers and musicians, and they're smoking their pot, and you
running around with the white women, and
I mean, maybe that's what it is. I mean, that's just like it's hard to just imagine. It's like he's been shrink wrapped, for 30 years, 40 years.
Right.
And, but nevertheless, that's going to cost them. And then Hi folks, Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos